opening prayers, we would just recite page number 5, 4 immeasurables, 3 times. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Damga doje jajara zonro jinjama da doja banjamba surja lomba tabra jibaga shakji jaba jabdungo zanza dananda zera tamje da lama laba laye jizozo lazon yonden jamzunga lawan dendre donjen rabagala zo dorjen janjia dello naro dang marba mala juje gambo ba pamo drba jawan rogong ba gaju lama nanje da junje daga lo chuson ro war zinja labdo zor chu lamdon ro war zinja labdo lam drwa ze war zinja labdo zor drwa yi zanja war zinja labdo zor Jinjizo dozo junje dina duzun shiba maya zenge gang daga ma le de da tam je la lu dang ayi dang we sha je wo kange den jen re waran jo ga ba me ba je ba me ba da me ba wa me ba ro me ba da de do me don je me zhu ba nye je je den ba zu bu san je ma nan je tam ba de la zhan zar du Renjin zawa lama je je gu zong do je zhen lang da 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 ge ju lang pe de da ge den ba dang sen je je dong jia jin bon zhe bar sen je lab de zor. Da nga rang zo dren xua ge chu de pa pa zang bo ju ben mo lam je cik dong jia chen zhe wa dong ni lam zang xi sa wa yu so 대시부가브리 드닝에 다치란솔라 도마시아데 슈 드부갑스이나리 제탄 르nga 이솜제 자와강 세바이나양 Tihundu kulhungde tene sojuja tende chuk solo tsir sojuja tumna tene da rangla yang tene deji yuba jinla yang pinto tuba tenda yinbichani tene kulhungde janchok semtola tsir juro nansi
So today we continue with the teachings on the prayer and the commentary to the prayer for excellent conduct, the commentary which is called the commentary explaining the meaning and the words of the prayer for excellent conduct, which is called the excellent path that accomplishes the twofold purpose. And so, practice the Dharma before we actually do anything with body, speech, and mind. And we have to change our motivation. We have to cultivate a motivation that is directed toward the Dharma. motivation that will lead to one's own happiness and also will benefit others. And that's the motivation of bodhicitta. So first, you should change your motivation to this mind of bodhicitta.
Lakpar to tarangaran choke hiya ke chunde zambo jubu molam sibanderwa. Den du zambo juba sibade zangju shibadere. De zangju shibande chug tone yang zangju go yorela. Jikting tone yang zamju go yore. Jikting tang chu nika ga tone zang ju ke da talam tinzi ke yongji chada yorenda. Den du ngaran zo da zambo jubu molam de pa xie cer ni da ndeke trubdun ze na dreven rawo te ngaran zo yarab zanju shiba de kompartang go yore. Jikting ke tone yarab zanju kompartang de ranjin ke chu chada yore. Deni chu chade ba de chu de ya gong de pe ya je yore. Den za da cheran zo da chu nimba bo tamje soso je paman rawo ji ina deni ngin kerne soso go buga dozo deni je maung bala ma yapo ma zangbo ma yapo zangbo si zo chi simba zangbo de la le yong yore. Dendra je ngin kerne da den ngin kurdu da pama so ina ya soso buga de yapo za ma zangbo je zondu yore. Da zoya ga tanlam den deni song yong yore. Den yapo ni ne dendra ngin kro nang Tene che soso la pugu ndo mipa ina ya soso che lobda ge gegin sunchu ne samna tangwa ina ya. Tene soso lobtrok tanje che yarab zanchu chin che la ya jurya ke tanda ke kulhong go yore. Ta ina ya che soso che gegin rawa ya main pama rawa mipa ina ya. Ta don ta soso rani tene me yapu me zambo che zi go yore. Mume dane. Da che lo che nga lo pe chenpo yin da zamju de kanjurwa tongya mi samya ka dana samju yo mare zamju shiba de ngarang zu mechen de ne deni yoba na re landu meche sarwa re cha de yore kandar deni de indu zamju de ne deni me ke deni jincha nang ke yak de zamju de cha de yore Zanju sebade lugu gone teni namjer yapo bala so bala zanju hyo yore la ngag gone che che yapo juba hiesa da je ba kurta da je ba ndo la ya zanju hyo yore la so che hyu kulong la ra le yong yore s kulong zambo mala che pinji togo samya ro ta ndra ka kulong de teni garchim bores
So this is the prayer for excellent conduct. So we're speaking about excellent conduct here, really, and so that is necessary in our Dharma practice, and it is also necessary in a mundane sense. So this text is really a skillful method to develop an excellent conduct. So then for both of us, whether we are teaching the Dharma or you're listening to the Dharma, if we practice the excellent conduct, then there will also be a result coming from that, and that is our conduct of our kind of polite and wholesome conduct will naturally increase in also a mundane sense, and then that actually, even if it's in a mundane sense, that becomes the Dharma then too. And if it becomes the Dharma, then this Dharma practice also increases. So for example, if you who are listening to the teachings, if you are, for example, a parent, if you have children, then you can also kind of make this a responsibility, because you think that, of course, you want that your child becomes a good person in the future. And becoming a good person really depends on that person's mind. So in order to have excellent conduct, we must have an excellent motivation in the mind. And so that is the responsibility of parents, what they want for their children. And so this, for example, would be a method to do that for your child if you're listening to the teachings and you're a parent. Or if you're not a parent, for example, if you're a school teacher, and then you will want to make the best out of your disciples, of your students, your pupils, so that they grow up becoming good people in the world. And that also depends on a good motivation. And then even if you're not a parent or not a teacher, if just you yourself want to turn out to be a good person, then that also depends on your own motivation, your own excellent conduct. And so therefore you might think that, well, it's too late for me to become a good person because I'm already old, so now I can't really change so many things. But you shouldn't think like this at all, because actually every morning you wake up, it's like a new life is starting. And a person who possesses excellent conduct, such excellent conduct is really the greatest ornament a person can possess. If you have excellent conduct, then in your physical activities, that is reflected as like a positive kind of expression when you meet with others. And with your speech, that means you would speak pleasant words, so you would be polite, speak politely, and you would speak respectfully to others. And all of that conduct really depends on your motivation. So therefore it's really important that when wanting to engage in excellent conduct, that you have the motivation to bring benefit to others.
Yinda da mui mela yara zanju loya yobate tetsomi bare soso rani ke rani la yara zanju jinju zoya yobande la tetsomi bare de zama se ke soso ke nyando ya ke chetan yeme dan jiu dan da de la so simji nyar de bande zo tamje la yara zanju lobya ba yina deni me yin ke de thongwa zamji ji yin cho ne ba Koranzo ke namjir kha chapo ton hiba tela soba ke yong cho ne ba tanda je la ya ba na ne ngaran zo ke di to so chama jangchu sem ke nyamlin cha de yore tene da yarab zanju ro je ngone yarab zanju jin je ma je na da le ka dukja jang le de na hira pinto yo ma re me bu jum chen de da ngaran zo zamblen de kala yun ringbo ne ya ke ngarang zo la tige de yo mare garse goro ngarang zo kantar mechen de chegi yore da chegi yude pen lo ja takta le ne tumkin che yina da nyama dawa chuchu ni zong de khot lo ja la ya ta nyer ro no go yoro lo ja la ta nyer ro de kantar so su meche de ton ro go yoro da ti paro lo je sambang imba jowa zubo tin tananda wo cha dang mong song le ka shukchi mo le de na teni so la ka le kha teni so go do bo do mo la so ba tham che ta mthwe ba cha ba ta te la so ba ge ne pino hira mo do sa no ne ya bo je tang ma yin na tanda we de to so chama teni je zamju yomi la ra le yong go yore den de teni je ngarang zu zangbo ju mo lang de hyune je lamsang sanje ju kompang da wo je top ya la rewa chi ke me ba yin na ya je chen da la de debo ji bo je tanda yong thab la sam no tang de de ken rewe de ta so so rang la ra le de do sam ne de ni tanda ku long ko tho ni o da zam ju mo lang de nge hyune de ni nge ma re yin na ya je pin o tho ta gi sa ya sam no je rabri na te mare nange nu jian de dan cham yagin da san yang da ji ta de la so ba ge ji jo an da ji tang ta ba yin na de ni ngarang ngo ne ji hi da ji ta na de je ba da chin na ba ge tu chu se le la bu tu chu de tang ne nin ba la so ba la de ni je bu yo ba res
So this excellent conduct is certainly something that people can learn, and so it's there's no doubt about it, and there's also no doubt about it that you yourself can train in excellent conduct. Actually, if you would teach it to even to your cat or your dog or your bird, that would also have an effect on them. Then when other people see your animal, they will naturally feel that it's so cute, and you would want to go there and see that animal. So that also is a practice of bodhichitta. On the other hand, if you think about how one becomes if one doesn't pay any attention to excellent kind of forthcoming or polite conduct, and one just engages in unwholesome activities, we can clearly see that there is no benefit at all in that. And if you really think about it, it's really pointless to engage in these activities, because this life is not very long. There's a limit to it. And for example, if that limit is 100 years, even if it is 100 years, each and every day, month and year, we are actually getting closer to the end of our life, to those 100 years. And every day, our life is getting shorter and shorter. So if we spend our life just doing negative things, destructive things, things that are motivated by attachment, by anger, by ignorance, then we will encounter a lot of difficulties, and we will not get along with anybody else, with our friends. And so if you really think about it, there's really no benefit in these kind of actions at all. So it all depends, this conduct, our excellent conduct, all depends on our motivation. So even if you don't really have great hopes of attaining enlightenment really quickly through this prayer of excellent conduct, it is actually just also a method to achieve happiness in this lifetime. So whether or not that is achieved, that result is achieved, depends on your own motivation, and when practicing this prayer for excellent conduct. So ideally, when practicing this prayer for excellent conduct, you think that may this become a way to benefit other beings. But at least you should think that if I can't benefit them, at least I'm not going to harm other beings. So if we're just able to transform kind of our motivation in that direction, that would be really excellent. And I trust that you are able to do that, and also on your side. And then if you see this really as this time of spending with this prayer really as something that's more valuable than gold, then certainly there will be a great result.
Ta de ta beche yarab zamchu kantar yin la pin thoya ke leka chi le de ba yina. Teni de yin la pin thoya ke leka le bu kap so yang samsang so so rani la chi kepin yu ba tanda mayin ba ke yang jong samsa te sara si ba ri de churang jiktin de ne pha kha dar sim ba yina ya. Ta dong ma yin ge churang la ji se yarang da. So teni mulan de ba la so ba ji yung ge yore. Nga ke churangzala pe nguyu necho ke pe ji khya perna dara in Arizona na ngima mesu ren and member de mesung king ke tanda mamambo che make barsun de te nga tel yong chadu mato ne tanda chong yo ba ha mo me hi tel lap chadu yang da lo nanyeng lo tela teni nga di Quran so tanda bene teni me pase ak chi de teni Quran so tanda bene seksun yo ba hakos din tete nga te yang se drin sema che yang se drin de te molan zun de ba so ya che Quran chi de molan do je de ta kyo ngoma je ba na nge Quran zu ma so chune mus tong ma nyo nguma ha ko me yin ya ta Quran so ge 제진다와 던라지 뭐 인라 핀 토야게 치도 yin la roba jia chi de so so rani ge le so de la lu dang yong ma de ji si yang ran yin de ji de da de nga ma ya bo zang bo yo ne ri mo do da ya wi de koran so ge le ga ya bo le ta le ga lap chim bo ji le ya ba de de le ti ne koran so ji ti ne pa ka dar sa na ya da rong wa ji koran so ge le ga de la ji si yang da de la mo la ja go an da yong do da de nga chi zuma da ke la ge me ngu yo ne char je re 당 때라고 나가라고 때 배드 충충리데 되네 때 소소가 내가 잠보지 내가 봐야나 되네 간다르 뭐yin 탐제게 되네 지수이랑도 몰라라서 반대 용고요래 되네 라당 되네 산제라서 바탐제게 대인데 아 라당 라미라서 가버치시 되네 대 탐제게 되네 아 가보난케요래 델라티는 소소라 진압라 소반 종고 요로스 델티는 소소고 수남도 야 고노 페르 요리 다 된다 삼노 따로나스
And so it is excellent, the prayer for excellent conduct. So when you practice the prayer for excellent conduct, and so when you make these prayers, even if sometimes it doesn't actually lead to bring like an advantage to yourself, and sometimes even you will lose out, but nevertheless, even if you die, if you have been such a person that possesses excellent conduct, then even after you have died, other people will still rejoice in your excellent conduct, and they will make dedication prayers on your behalf. For example, last year I went to this kind of memorial place for firefighters in Arizona, and actually that was years ago, where there was a wildfire and many firefighters have been burned and they have died in that fire. And I never actually knew about that until I went to this memorial place last year. And of course, at that time, these people were not alive any longer. But just knowing what they did, how they have really given up their own life in order to protect and in order to help others, even though I actually haven't met those people, but I just went to that memorial, and actually ever since I'm thinking about them again and again. When I make my prayers, I'm always having them in mind too, and I really rejoice in the great deeds that they have accomplished, even though I don't actually personally know them. And so this rejoicing and thinking about them is not because I'm a great person or so, it just happens really naturally if you think about the great things that somebody has done for others. So then if one has been such a person, then even if one has died and leaves this life, then just naturally everyone will rejoice in one's excellent activities, one's truthful activities. And so so this is just really a very small example. But if one engages in such excellent activities, if one's conduct is excellent, then others will just naturally rejoice in that. And they will naturally dedicate or pray for that person. For example, it is said, the gods and the demigods rejoice. And when they rejoice, then also one will receive their blessings. And that then also leads to the increase of one's own merit. So this is how we should see it.
가장 다 몰란데서 그 열담바 시바데 다내 제발진 도서 휴바르와 되니 다들은 다 몰란데서 그띵 가르다버지로 몰란 간다 다분드네 몰란데고 요레 시바 데레 kirtan molan de sa te la yang sacha la tin chepar yore song perna ta sanje je ko song thok teni taso yusa ke teni ndune molan ta ba yina teni tin tin ke chepar yore Take molam te yang top chirin rogo yores. Dan doso ngune re da ngune da ngarang so che sinrek dan tun de ba nguyu ne chare per na chorang ke tulo je kam go na teni nyama trosa je le kam na lamsang kam ngir ba teni chorang ke tulo je kam go yo na nyama mi sa je le kam yo na kan kan sa ko kam si ba re de kan kan sa ngor do gro ba ta tel so te ta dara sanje ju ko song tuk tin yo sen den la so an dan du molang jang de top chi jum sin de korang so ti rang yin da wo per na nyama ka rang yin de zhu cha de yo ba yin de sanje je ko song tuk tin de so rang yin ge je yin la pin ya ge jin ne ba da ni jin cha de yo ba de jum sin la de ne de ne so an de sa de ta wa lan de na ya ga yo re so.
So we spoke about the other day in the text. We spoke about the kind of exceptional location where we can make our supplications or this prayer, and then next is it's called the exceptional support. Basically, in the presence of who we make this aspiration prayer, and so it is said that, for example, if it is in the presence of a representation of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, then surely the power of the prayer will be much greater. Actually, it's very similar to science too. For example, if you have a wet cloth and you want to dry it, if you put it in the sun, then it will dry really quickly. If you put it somewhere in the shade where there is no sun, it's still possible that it will dry, but it's just going to take some time. So when we make our prayers in the presence of a representation of the Buddha's enlightened body, speech, and mind, the Buddha's enlightened body, speech, and mind is like the sun. It's its nature, and due to that, just naturally, the benefits will be much greater, much quicker. And that's just the nature of the power inherent in the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. And so that's why if we make our prayer in the presence of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, then the result will be much greater.
Da den de sanje ge gui chap rao gun chu zi de darang arang zu la ge tang ka dang gun ra dang de su re de cha de yo ba re. Song gun chu zi de da yi ge de so cha de yo re, yi ge de so. Da to gun chu zi de chu ting de so cha de yo re, ku song tok son nang ge. Da arang zu ge de so nang gar chi hu ze go sa de gar cha de yo re se na yi ge de cha de yo re. Yegen de chagoan de sanje ke kusong togen zepan tele yung zoba de yegen na yog de yore. Dene sanje korang ke yang kong ko nyangi lan den ro du dene kunga wa hyu de hiem ne yesa hyu na hiem de namju ngarang ka ka ke la da ngu ne da ba ta chi nyangi lan de man ro se so a mo la hyu tab de da nyangi ma ji kunga wo se du ning ma la nga yegi zok su la yong song ya ba re ta kong yegi zok su la yong se du dan deng yu ne chor cha de yo re sanje kong ra ke che re re yin song yi ben chin pu ge yong din ze ge dan ni nu pu ge tuk ji yong zo ba de yege na yo re de jum sin la de nga so ge jam de dong ba hyu de ya ta ne yege na ji sun chu lo ge ba ji go se de ngarang zu hyang dong zu dong zu de yige de an da wong go la ya yo ju de gom so ne ya bo yo re dang hing mang ngarang do na tan da gang gang za thu go yo de sa nga na ma do ru ro ya ke nga de sam sam ma tin hi tin to ma da de da jang zo ge tan da ji ro ji se yige zu so go la yo ju de chu kun cho la chan sar ba ke chan sar ba cha de yo re chan sar hi ba den ta ji de zubo tsama ma sa to la de nye ne tra goa ngi pa yo ma re de yin zang de ni jam du lab za dang yang tuen ba de ni nga rang zo ge san ji chu gen du ge yong din yang de ni sem la chen zhe ba ji to ba la so ba pin do chen bo yo re
And so anything that represents the enlightened body, speech, and mind of a Buddha, for example, what represents the enlightened body of a Buddha is like a tanka, like an image of a Buddha or a statue. And what represents the enlightened speech is the scriptures, texts. And what represents the enlightened mind, for example, is a stupa. And of these three, the enlightened speech, the scriptures are actually most important. Because actually within the scriptures, within the Buddha's words, all of the Buddha's qualities are already complete. The Buddha's body, speech, mind, activities, and qualities are complete within the scriptures. And when the Buddha, just before the Buddha passed into nirvana, the attendant Ananda was extremely sad, and he begged the Buddha not to die. And so then the Buddha said, do not be sad, Ananda, because in the degenerate age I will appear in the form of the scriptures. And so this is really what has actually then happened, because within each of those words of the Buddha, Buddha is really embodied within these words. His omniscience, his compassion, and his power to benefit is all embodied within those words in the scriptures. So therefore, for example, when we take the refuge vow, one of the precepts is to show great respect to the Buddha's words, even if it is just a single syllable of the Buddha's words. We should pick it up and place it onto our crown. Also, for example, it's very good to have a habit of when one has completed a text or something like that, that one places it onto one's crown. So I'm telling you to do that, even though also I've not always myself been so mindful of doing that. But it's good to do, certainly, because it becomes a prostration, an homage to the Dharma. So paying homage or prostrating doesn't necessarily mean that one has to bow down physically, but it really means to treat the Dharma, for example, with respect, and to place the scriptures onto one's crown. And that is, for example, a precept of the refuge vow. And so if we do such things, then the benefit of that is that we then establish a connection to the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha.
Tene ta gendun nampal tsumba yena ya ta gendun sena ta chu nyamni nang kin tsumba yena ya tene la ke ko tang song tang ta chu tin yo san da so le de ma yo sa ke che kulong de ran yin gen jo wa jin ro ko yo wa de nang ba san je ba ke che la khang tang chu tin yo sa chi po rin ma da chu lo yin ba ke la khang da to so lan ro de yang ma to so ran yin ke che 체조글로 진시 바이운다고 지띠네 되네 계자에나 진마 갈레 히야한다고 당되네 타나체 강 랑고 순주 마 골람피아라서 반데서 제 그ям도 다 대운도 뭐만보 그 꿀홍 잠보대 안다나란히 그 좀대와제 차가 요도 되네 누바 제바바 라인 그 차도 요 바레세
So then when we, for example, are in the presence of the Sangha, or a place where we practice the Dharma, when there is a temple, for example, and there is statues or images of the deities, and there's scriptures, or there's a stupa, and just in the presence of these holy objects, our motivation actually naturally really changes, it transforms. And so it's not just in a Buddhist place, but any religion, if you come to one of their temples or kind of those holy places, then just naturally in those places one will be more mindful and conscientious about one's actions, or one will speak quietly or take off one's shoes and so on. So just naturally in the presence of these holy places or objects, the motivation in our mind naturally transforms toward an excellent conduct.
다 데이터 which 다른 거랑서 넘바 얘기하기 제 산지 그 고동 주딩당 라고 당칼라서 봐다 드라미 빠이나양 드네 엔다선도 라니 제 라니 담보 추고라 안 딩킹게 제 라니를 추 세준데 제 나와라 말 담보 룽킹게 드네 킴보당 드 라마당 된 대하나 인게 드네 소소를 추 현킹게다 데이터 소소가 자블라마당 데라 소바 탐진 드나 유두 데니소라다 몰란 타바이나 데니 양 몰란 데는 네바 체바바지 요레서.
And even if you're not in the presence of, I guess, a certain holy object, like a Buddhist temple or a statue or a tanka and so on, if you're in the presence of, for example, someone who has taught you the Dharma first, anyone who's in robes, for example, like a Khenpo or a Lama or your root guru and so on, in their presence, if you make your supplications, then the power is also said to be greater.
다 드라 제네 드니 몰란 데인데 나츠체 간자라 제 제조글로 이완다고 제 마제 네테니 제담 파프 겐두임바 잠지다 드순데니 레 테니 소술라마다 로본데 나트라 몰란 덴담두두 테니 제제나 소소 두소레 테니 또반 토와 인시바레 용틴치아 인시바레데 소수 드라 제 몰란 답데 발라테네 테니 소소게 진시 히바데 테니 야르젠 로고 요레스 진시 야르젠 로용와데 공고 타르토 바데 차도 요레 대인상 테니 강타양 소소라 케핀 요바지 마도 종 추네미 바지 인도 테니 드라벤 진시 팀 주거지 데 가침보레스.
And of course, in terms of toward whom we supplicate, there are many different kinds of individuals. But so when we make a supplication in the presence of the noble Sangha, so a Lama and so on, it is possible that that maybe their realization of the qualities are greater. And so therefore it is good to be mindful. And if you're mindful in this way, mindfulness increases. And ultimately, this is really what becomes meditation, is when mindfulness increases. And so if mindfulness increases anyways, in any case, you are the one who is at benefit. So you will definitely not lose out. And so therefore, such a mindfulness is really important.
다 대소 관계양 착진 상금이나 되니 다 몰란다야 미바르베스나 대여 말이 세더니 소소라니게 되니 간다르 소소라 잠바다 제와야 생지엔도 대 톡상지 히바다 차다 요레 디갑 대두증 알아서 르는데 그 겐둔 히바다 차다 요레 델 디갑 대두게 알아서 게데 가나는 이제 소가 몰란된 용반데 송 담취시바다 차용도 되니 고갑디니 미바 마리스 예나야다 대수갑서 양 진시티나 단라치 주트 가르침버레라 조체휴 양 유어던 두다 ndsola ra la yoren de timder ko wangke timder ke chuni jeke
And so even if you don't have any of these kind of conditions complete, does it mean that you can't do any aspiration prayers? Doesn't mean that, because the actual Buddha is the mind, and that is a mind of love and kindness. And when you have love and kindness, then your own body naturally becomes a Sangha. And then when you supplicate verbally, then your speech becomes the holy Dharma. So it's not that there is no opportunity to do a supplication prayer. And when you make a prayer, mindfulness is important, and so everything is kind of interconnected. The encountering of a place and a certain time and all of that, the nature of things is that everything is interdependent.
다 디오드 드니 다 ngaranto molan de pa ke kapje da gebzawatte kandaris kandanda go yori sendu deni tesung ko yori da ndala namjung ngazo ge bena tseren hyo nemi hyo sirwande ya molam ri nde ya ha chang ya pori so yena ya dambo soso ge yar kuncho lon chuba marche nginsong da changbo la so ba la jimba tang de tabu tambo kantar che lunga yisum sumbu goniam yana lunga yisum kanong gone geza ji drop ta di geza de la tine deni perna soso phamani tseren war hyo ne mi par hyo soso ga zawla ma tam ji ge den zeban tele ge stimba da sunjin la pin hyo deni neba tam ji ne la drowar hyo deni upo tamje nolongju de dimra hyola su bogonus ta so wa neka ku so wa tabayna tela nuba chia yores teni ta nyams de linkin tamje tin sanje ji compagnie de top hyola su bog molan tamna ya ta tin nuba chia yores gans no susu gu jyo jing hun sa ya ba teni de nuba de chur nyam de kor yong go yodu soso ge pena jimba tang chuba phi ya le ge za ji yorwa de chur kor ne de pi ju tang ne teni de molam ja yong go yudu de molam de top che ge yore so
And so when we make aspiration prayers, also it is said that it becomes more powerful if it is combined with practicing virtue. And so normally we might think that, like casually, we think that may we have a long life and be free of sickness and so on. We do those prayers and that is excellent, but if it is actually also combined with a virtuous action, then the benefit is even greater. So for example, that means first, for example, you're making an offering to the 3 jewels, or you're being generous to the poor, or you do anything that benefits with body, speech, and mind. You practice any kind of virtue. And then after you have practiced virtue, you make a prayer. For example, may my parents have a long life and be free from illness, or may the activities of the root guru become vast and benefit many sentient beings. May all the sick be healed, and may all the poor find wealth, and so forth. Then these prayers are more powerful because they are combined with a certain Dhamma practice, a virtuous activity. So when you, for example, practice the Dharma and then you make a prayer, may this lead to the swift enlightenment of all, then the power of such a prayer, when combined with a virtuous action, becomes more powerful.
다 드니 넘바 산제 벽 용로라 투상 곰섬 진진킨제이나 벤 다랑 아랑 존로나 파시 처니 발라서 반데서 다비 난킨이나 단체 주 좀스 만보 여러와 데서 난킨제이나 디 지스 다 모아지랑 인게 용케 요레 데 이나양 다 gonda 마 니사나는 냐르차드 니 마콩몰라 다 드랭 아랑 그제 게버자와 강 드로이가반데게 드네 다 팀바다 심진 탐제라 핀프 저런 저효세 다 팀바다 심진 탐제 데브 저런 저효세나다 다나가 몰람 징다 드네 대하나 인게제 다 드랭 아랑 드로이나 드랭 녀몬달라 드네 산지 부출라 투상 곰숨 지하가 까와 딘송 페 까와 잠보 딘송 단데타 yin 탐제 란데타 딘바르 효세 데니 다 담베 추게 내롱 미히바 데타 하장 그 뭉바 레줌데라서 바 미히바 탐제 그더니 다얌 메이로 히라고 메이데아 세네 데 탐제게 아지 담베 추게 내롱 히버토네 롱수 주저 용효 라서 바거토네 kulongji teni ngane ate tabla so ba juna Teni dik molam tela teni top chimbo yore so.
So, for example, if one is someone who generally studies and practices the Buddha Dharma, one, for example, teaches or one listens, one learns, or one composes, and so on. If one is kind of immersed in the Buddha Dharma, then one's practice every day always, of course, ends with dedication prayers naturally. But also, even after that, for example, in the evening when one goes to sleep and already lies in the bed, one should, for example, think. One should, for example, think that so all the virtuous things I have practiced today, may it become the cause of benefit for the teachings and of sentient beings, may it become the cause of happiness, and so on. And also one would reflect, today I'm very fortunate for having had the opportunity to study and to practice Dharma, and may everybody else also have that fortune. So then one thinks that so many beings do not understand the Dharma. They're ignorant to the workings of karma, cause and effect. So may their eyes become opened to the true reality. May they be able to enjoy the true natural state, and so on. So if one thinks in this way, and then also expresses that wish verbally, then such an aspiration is more powerful.
Yeah, tani tio da ngapa molam ro yor do yor so. Dan de pe ka chimbo je yo ndo den du. Ta molan de shiba den ta chi do. Ta chir dang arang so kang pa do ji chu zhong la so po to ne molan de yong ban de yang gogap de yo na gogap de ya hyu cha ge yo re. Ta yang arang so chen ko pa ri tse du de da ge kom long chimbo yo ma re. De la ti ne de ge 제 깜바 주종 짠데 뭐 몰란데 바데 투수데 고갑데 데스 용아요레 로안도와 라소반 로도 그 사와데 망아 차안두 다티갑스 몰란 가레진다고요 세데 단데 칼송용 거래 단데 칼송용 거요데 담보 단데 칼은 도지 떨은 돈등 이파르던 아런 수망 발라 디근도데 베 통통직도 다데 문에 journey teni susoke teni logo sare te nyengta bar lo na teni yapo shuwe sare te tomar da kare shuwa in shuba ina ngaran so ndi perna sakang jinen rowa ina yang sakang na perna nga sakang jinen ro na rodong kare re rodong nga sama chi san ro yo ro ta de indu sama yang che Khenpo chi la rewa chi ge ro ta de indu 사캉는 용킨 차마 다 사마살 용킨 차마 랑다 찍바 차도 요리 다엔데 당 말한 저거 때도 몰란데 되니 더서 그 사마 데 심포 용효 사마 데라 쪼 용효 되니 되게 짐다 데라양 사캉도서 야젠 로효사 다데도 몰람 자고 요리 되니 타는 말한 저 제 다트소 인다트소 다른 만트네 용그 요리 담보 테소 네틱 랍진스 되는도
디도디 다른 용거다. So now in the text drukne tamo druklaus nganso drukne ngaleus
drukne ngaleus
na ngabang manlam drusra ngabade 마차 쪽으로
쪽으로 해.
말해. 좀든 쪽으로. 나는 가발라 쪽나네.
알아.
맞잖아. 쪽으로.
쪽는 거 봐라 왜.
쪽으로 해.
저는
가발다 얘는 쪽으로 해.
나 tiktok. sabsabje 되더라. 아빠 몰란데 그 좀 생인데.
So we are ngabatare ina yang tromden katsetok kasang so chila so tambotere ni batere ni chi yeware re ngaware chi tini re tida ni katsedo dore
te kachi moro des ko ro usame ngams
re
nga yo sare de ngabar ngaba te nga yo sare ngabatri chron la ya de nga nga titio ngwa thong da ba ngabatri.
So the other day we said that there's for the general the general aspiration prayer, there are 5 different subdivisions, and now that was the end of 4, and now number 5 is 6. So, anyways, the number 5 is to make prayers as one in all one's activities when one is sitting and walking. Yeah, so the text says number 5, but actually it's number 6. So number 6 is making prayers wherever one goes, in whatever one does, and so that is essential for us, because of course if you have the opportunity to practice in meditation, sitting cross-legged and so on, that's of course best, but we often don't have that opportunity because in this world we have to do a lot of things and we don't have the time to always sit and practice. And so therefore this is really also essential, this section here on making prayers in all of our activities, whether we are like sitting down or walking around and so on. So we always have this opportunity to do an aspiration prayer. So there's also in this section, this section mentions a sutra that is very short, and it would be very good to maybe have to find the translation, have that translated in the future. It's very short. That's one sutra that we're gonna go into. That would be really great if it could be recited each and every day. So for example, just to introduce this topic here, how we should think, how we really apply aspiration prayer in all of our activities. For example, if you're going to a restaurant, so first of all, why are you going to a restaurant? Because you want to eat something. So you have some kind of hope that you will get something good to eat. And then everybody else in the restaurant, every guest in the restaurant has the same wish. They're all there for the same reason. They're all there to get something good to eat. So you can also kind of bring that to mind and think that all those people here, they're all here to get good food. So may they all be able to enjoy delicious food. And also by a lot of people coming and eating here in this restaurant, may the business of the restaurant owner improve. So this is how one, for example, can pray as one goes around.
Rondo yor la so ba kaps ta kanda chi na mulam da go yore se na te jertang sanje gen do na yore den do na yo ban de lopung da jin jin zang bo ge zur ndor de na song ya ba jere yore lopung da jin jin lopung pa da jin jin zang bu so den jin chap sang de wa da lopung da jin jin so gen de dan de ndang ma tu login tambo jagar ke to song bodhisattva sita te jagar ke ni churta bukel churjong ko yorba tendu bodhisattva siba de janchu sambarwa bodhisattva siba de Then Gozara so. The Gozara Sibate, Juyor Chagger, Juyor. Parishides, Parishide Shibade, Yongs Dagba, Shibaton, Yongs Daba, Jedang Yang Daba Shib, don't know, Yongs Daba, Sutra, Sutra Ndora, Ndonganina, Ndora, Samgarhas, Samgarhas, Dun Dordubas. There, that Chapsang Hubayina. Jancho simple Juyo Yonso Dabundui Dun Dordubas. There. And then doing dinner getting at Hologa Tuans. That Tomar ni sebet nas, Tomar ni se de se. There ye la Jawan. Tsunami hi umpel tung bepa mepa kejurje pami ni le namdor hin jegmi hi simose tamjin chin ba ni heryin lami dentong dembrachos tangen ma lo yoren ma tung da tang de ke hubaina tang aran so kare sungu so ni sendo kare chigore son da dere ni sendo ngaran sama ni roande ta ba mi pakke namba ro je cha de yoro ni le yon roande ba mi pa namba je dendu deni jig de ba mi ke deni chimo dena na ni la yon ro du deni ya ni se yung pa kap so ta ta gareso an da go yore ta tamjin chimbi hi de ni ma hira na yin du deni de ta simjin tamji ke 간달 심진 탐지 다라데 마렉 다 마시베 니 텔야 세데 데니 탐진지 비히 나랑서 다르 나랑서 심주리 히랍 충 요반데 탐진지 비히 그 사원라고 자게 요래 데니 야 탐진지 비히 주게 네로 레줌레라서 바히 비히는 저르효스 몰란다고 요레스니 야세연 버갑스.
So this sutra so goes into how we should pray when we are just going around in our activities. So first, the name of the sutra is called the Kongtsompa Bodhirava. Was composed by the master. The Acharya, what is it, Sri, like the great Sri Rahula, or in Tibetan it's the Lobön Bal Dachin Sangbo. And so the name of the sutra, so in the text, it begins with the Sanskrit name, which is then in the text translated into Tibetan. So the Sanskrit name for the text is Bodhisattva Gotsaram Parishuddhi Sutra Tasam Traha Samgara So sutra. Yeah. So anyways, we go through each of the words. So Bodhisattva is of course the Bodhisattva, which is in the Tibetan here Changshub Sempa. Gotsara is like I guess sphere, kind of or scope, a domain, and that's Gotsara. Then Parishuddhi means completely pure, and then there's the sutra. So Parishuddhi Sutra. It says Sutra Tha or something, right?
Sutra
Tha Samgara. The Sutra Tha Samgara. So Sutra is the sutra, right? And Tha Samgara, Tasam Graha is the condensed meaning. So basically it means the sutra's name is the sutra which condenses the meaning of the utterly or completely pure sphere or scope or kind of the domain of the bodhisattva's conduct, or the bodhisattvas. So the sphere refers to the bodhisattva's conduct. And so then there is a short a short a form of that sutra that we will say. So maybe I read that first. So it says, when you first wake up in the morning, you should mentally reflect in the following way. So you should pray that in order, you should make the following prayer, reflect in the following way. May I become skilled in mindfulness in order to increase merit and primordial wisdom, omniscient wisdom. So then may I be able to see the unsurpassed, just like the unsurpassed with omniscient wisdom, just like the rising sun. In this way, awaken fully from sleep. So the meaning of this is that when you wake up in the morning, normally when we go to sleep, first of all, sleep is a state of delusion or kind of unmindfulness. So the moment we wake up, we should bring up mindfulness through such aspiration prayer, which is this mindfulness is just like the sun rising within our mind. We're waking up from this sleep, this dullness of ignorance, which is really the ignorance of all sentient beings. So it is really a prayer for all sentient beings to awaken from their sleep of the darkness of ignorance, and to realize the omniscient wisdom within their own mind. So actually, the limited intelligence, kind of wisdom that we now possess already is actually an aspect of the omniscient wisdom. It's like a seed, the seed of the omniscient wisdom.
You
try.
Tene dangce nyumong nyelinche kob nema pangnene debyin hikbe ni detaran sare debyin hikbe ni detar top dang zunso lami hyos da nga cho ya ni se yong ni se sar chawa ni se sa da gare jigre ya langger wa ya langbu kapsu tene gare tingor sina tene da 심진 탐지 그다 뉴몽바 되네 뉴몽바게 다 냐사 따베는 니데와 되네 되네 야 되네 되네 야 당효 세 베나 산제 다 대비기 바탐지 다 뉴몽바 니된 냐사 따베네 야 랑네 되네 다 탐지 지보 공방 터브와 될 때네 되네 톱저당 되네 part the symbolas of zundlas of part the symbol latin tene kompang ni rois ta data ba yong ho sene den ngoma man di tsik den do de jin tham na ya bon do
de cha song de do ra
do cha ya ma de da ni ba de
den go de ni chi bo de
담보 야 랑와 때 니 등 니 해 차와
Ina
니 세러와 다니 세서 가서 야 랑거 니 세
ina
네.
dini dengore dengoya.
아
Dini di sholoka ni di dengore dempa dengore de.
디 효로 뭐는 논턴네 야 보여라
Dini
어
sholoka ni ra.
효로 효
Dengde.
야 니 세드 효로 그 찍 노양도
Mm.
야 란도 효로 그 찍 노양도
And so this is basically the line that should be kind of the verse that should be recited when getting up and waking up, and then the other one, the next one is when how to think or how to pray when we're actually getting up. So first you're waking up, and then after waking up you're getting up, and when you're getting up, again you should make a prayer, being mindful, thinking that just like I'm getting up, may all sentient beings lift themselves out of the state of affliction, and thereby attain the state of omniscient wisdom and reach the state of the 10 powers and the paramitas and so forth. So may they attain all of these qualities. So that's the essence of the second verse. So it says, and then when you're getting up, pray that may sentient beings rise from the sleeping beds of samsara, and by rising or lifting themselves out from samsara, may they reach the state of the Tathagatas, their powers and their perfections, such as diligence.
다 디오더 ngotsa tang ne chiyu gu jam dan ninji kara ne simjin tamje lami par jawa ji yin chunjur jes ta meyo se me lak ta pena meja pomo na kudong kung ya yore tene tawa ta ani na ti ke meyo de so kung ya yore wa de kung ne tene de la kira jing ne tna kung yo ba kap so ta sam no kare tang go yore se na tane ngotsa da chiyu se rangur du no ngotsa wa yin ke tene cheyung gri samya ke tel so ba ba yu gu to ni tane ngarang so chezo glo zo chekyu de jamba da ninji dan de sanje da jacho samba tamje ke ta jamba da ninji ke kara jing ki ban de kara ma jing na dulo zubo kal de ma wa me yo de den de la kara jing de zubo kal de ba yin de ta jamba de yin pin ke samno de jamba da ninji ke de ne sar kara nda wo de jing ne de ne de ta ba chama ju la de ne chama ke ta jamba da ninji ke 다 메요 더 잠바다 닌제 따버 런츠나 저게 요래 메요 대한 저게 요라 대 잠바 닌제 그 지게 요라와 대인도 있더니 참아게 됐다버 용효사 되니 참아지 고차 히바다 철유 바지 용효사네 되니 된 동시는 동도 마히나 메요 공도 됐다버 그노 제담나 저히 된다 야 보요레스.
And then the next verse is that read the verse first. So when after one has one got up, then one gets dressed, and so then there is another verse on how one should pray when one gets up and after getting up, getting dressed. Then you pray that may all sentient beings put on the skirt and the belt of loving kindness and compassion, just as the Buddhas wear them. So when we get up, if one is a monk or a nun, then one has this skirt and the belt. And if one is a lay person, then anything else that you dress in. And so what that refers to is so you're putting on the also it says in the verse that you're putting on the dress of kind of embarrassment and shame, but in a good sense, and you are like tying the dress of embarrassment and shame with the belt of love and compassion. And so embarrassment here has to do with yourself. So when not in the presence of others, you're heedful in your activities, and like being kind of like shameful or being kind of modest maybe is in the presence of others, how you behave in the presence of others. So basically it means whether by yourself or in the presence of others, you're sustaining mindfulness, and that mindfulness is your dress, and it is tied together with love and compassion. And then pray that may all sentient beings wear this dress of mindfulness and conscientiousness and the belt of love and compassion. So may they all develop these qualities. So this is the prayer to be mindful of when getting dressed.
다 간다는데 알아서 메요 야 좋은데 네 메요 야 좋은 거 삼네 남중 그 삼노 많이 봐 삼노데 journey 데네 랑올로 되는 거 잡아다 잉을 되는 체유부 근데 데네 야 다 심진 랑그 좋은데 심진 탐지 그 지도 좋은 거요 삼번도 봐 데네 심진 탐지게 데이터 그 그도 좋은 효스 몰라잖아 데 데이터 그들라 다 잠바다 닌제 그 까라데 쟁코세 다 드라사노 당고 요레스.
So therefore you're changing your way of thinking. Not just I'm putting on my skirt, but I'm thinking that when you put on the skirt, that this is the skirt of like being kind of mindful, like in a sense of feeling a sense of like being mindful when you're just by yourself, which is like it's called embarrassment literally, but it really means to be mindful when you're by yourself, and also being modest and mindful when you're in the presence of others. So you're heedful of your conduct, whether by yourself or in the presence of others. So I'm wearing that skirt, and it is bound by the belt of love and compassion, and may all sentient beings wear this skirt, and may their skirt be bound by their love and compassion.
다디오드 잠친단네 제부쿠 데킥 지긴 중바당 타다 심진 예라네 렉테 냠바니 저제송 다데 또요시 또로 공양데서 공용버 값서 야 대가서 또로직 중후요 삼삼 마이바 다 잠친시바데 잠바 체메바 당 데네 닌제 체메바게 다 두고든 안 중후요 단데 나데네 산제 탐지게 나 두고는 게 초도 줄바 대차도 요래 다가 근데 심진 탐지 그 돈도 중바 인도 심진 탐지가 데이터베지 중네 다는 잠바다 닌제게 다 렉테 냠바니 저지 잠바 체메바 닌제 체메바 그 돈이 되네 더서 탐지라다 다다 간다 니렌차다 니단자 따뇽 침보다 그 라롱스 주브라효 삼네 되네 중고 요레스.
And then next you're putting on the shirt. So then you pray. And so just as the Tathagatas have put on the shirt of immeasurable, of great kindness and of love, in a similar way, may all limitless sentient beings don the shirt of such excellence. So basically, again, when you're putting on your upper garment, your shirt, you don't just think that, like in an ordinary sense, now I'm putting on my shirt, but think that now I'm putting on the shirt of immeasurable love and of immeasurable compassion, just as all the Buddhas have done. And similarly, may I and also all sentient beings wear this shirt of immeasurable love and compassion, and as a result of that, may they all enjoy the equanimity that is free from any closeness or distance toward anyone.
Lami tikpa chimbrone kangban juk bara jijirje la yu yungda changba yu yungba la so ngimjong ke remben tarji du bara shos ta nga so chilnam se de hisare de lamgo ke hisarwa ti yadna chilnam ta lamgo kundu kandaw kongore se de namje nga so ke lamgo ya konya ji ko na je arwa nga da de ndamaim batani ta laname ba ke tikpa chimbo la ta lamla hyo hyo samyan dan dare rani laname be tikpa chimbo ke lamla hyo ban de simjin tamje ge ji de hyo go yo ba tene simjin tamje di lam de hyo hyo se tene di namla hyo na gare yong go yo se na lai yong da changbu yong se de da gandar la da changbu ge ne tamje la 동하 락바 nga랑 zungin song ge 동하 la tuna tes 동하 chung ko yo zang de korang zo ngim jong je ya tes ka le kha bo yo re ko wa si ba de 동하 re sa ngim jong je ya ka le kha bo yo re de ta yum ba asin ta ngim jong de ta ge zu su ko ne de ni de so tam je la ngim jong ge lam na hyo ne rembe de tar ji du bar hyo zu de san ji ko pon to hyo ta lam go kon de de ta bi hi ti ne mo lam da go yo ba re.
After that, you put on your shoes and you think that putting on my shoes may renunciation. By putting on my shoes, may renunciation and be brought to its furthest limits. Even in the minds of gods, like the higher gods, and even Brahma, and may they also enter the the path of the unsurpassed Mahayana vehicle. So when we put on our shoes, then of course again normally we only think about putting on our shoes, but instead of that, we can think that may renunciation arise by entering the path of the Mahayana. So I am entering the path of the Mahayana for the sake of sentient beings, and then may all sentient beings too enter this path of the Mahayana. And so here the gods and the Brahma are mentioned because the gods and Brahma are beings of a more like subtlety, which is their experience of suffering and affliction is not as coarse as ours. So they experience a greater extent of well-being. But for this reason, it's also a little bit difficult for them to cultivate renunciation. It's difficult for them to see that samsara the nature of samsara is actually suffering. And so the prayer says, therefore, may even they cultivate renunciation and then gradually, step by step, attain the state of enlightenment. So here when we are putting on our shoes, that is what we should be mindful of.
Yeah. That the Lujin Tamji Denro, Yang De Dang. Tamji Chimpa Tronchen, Gochimpo and Jiprashos. Tang Atsoka Lango Gonzade, Kahilon Royak, Tapiti Yorova, Tableti Yorova, Rodi Gosen and Rogarova, Ta Gosen, the Takulon Karachegor Sedu, the Lujin Tamji Sedin, Roasimji Tamji Se. The name Ta Gantarcheng in Sonkanela Yona, Denrola Yayoma. Denrola Yona, Remjita, Gantar Tamji Jibber Troncher, the Roarsiba. Tane data which ngarang ti go the seke use de ngarang go siba yindo tene semjin tamji ta ti go ti nangni tene tamji chimba ko tronchela rogar sho sana molam da kulhong nyam da go yo baris.
So then next, so you put on your shoes, and after you put on your shoes, you're getting ready to go out of the door. In order to get out of the door, you have to open the door first. And so how should you think when you do that? Or how should you pray when you do that? So the prayer and says that, and so may I open the door for all embodied beings, so all sentient beings. May I open the door so that they can leave the places of the lower realms and enter into the fortunate states, the happy states of the higher realms and of the state of nirvana and the city of omniscience. So we're getting ready to go, and the motivation is to think that I will open the door for all sentient beings to like leave their place of the lower realms and go through the door into the city of the higher realms, the city of omniscience, the city of enlightenment. So this is how, with that kind of motivation, we should pray when we leave the door, we open the door.
Oh, then that kamsum mungba chimbo ye sibe chimle cher songde tamche chimba sandu ban jitin tada ngidro hyos. Ta kamba go sitade ta ma kamba go slo la ma dongkerwa. Ta ma dong kapsu da kare gu dumba kare chen mulang kare jago yorsina. Ta tata pa de dene kamsum ko ke mungbo ke mungkang ta chimbo nan ta la songari. Dan deni nga pas slo tamchen chimba gandar nga yang da ba tamchen chimba ke deni sala rokuyo roan de simjin tamje ke chin den rokuyo de simjin tamje data de deni rang molang ta ba yin de data wa yong ra kho sam ba toni deni ta compassion lo pa tong go yores.
And so then after you have opened the door, then you are walking through the door to leave. And so when you're going outside through the door, then you should think that and so up until now, sentient beings have been left behind in the darkness, the ignorant darkness of the three realms of samsara. I am walking through this door in order to raise them all from these lower states of existence. And then having left this door for their sake, then just like me having left this door, may also all other sentient beings be able to walk through this door of birth in the higher realms.
Oh, tenida mokum ngindu yang sale tada jiwo namji go mege gangze sang jangsem dang sanje ji jang jejur jeso. Ta namju nga zo go selma tons go ma gigirwa. Go ma giwa de ta kare go yore serdu ta minsong go tamje ka yabayins. The sanje da jancho sumba ke da molang da tobla soba la tine dene nginsong go tan je yabai de yun da ro simji suche da nginsong ne la rosa me ba je yongsho da sam de molang da dongo yor go ma gibukaps.
So then after you have walked through the door, you're closing the door. And so here when you're closing the door, you pray. So now having walked through this door, closing the door, I am closing the door to the three lower realms, the miserable states of existence for the sake of all beings. And it is through the power and the aspirations of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, that this door of the of non-virtue, of miserable states of existence is now closed. May it become closed for all sentient beings, so that the lower realms, the miserable states of existence, will cease to exist.
Tene lami devyin hikpa ye gompe tamchi de du hyoso. Ta gompa jan rogo yorwa dikaps. Namjun nga so hine gompa jan o ne gompa lami pa ten roya ji yore. Hine di gang la jancho song ge je tamne ta. Nga gompa re yendo tene devyin hikpa ka satan lam ru nen rogo yos. Roande taebe simjin tamji ge chi dun rogo yo zang. 타입의 심진 담제야 딜람디는 데 인도 로버 효 삼바이나 다 히네 디강라 장초선 그 제답 연도 되는 데 게자 삼지 마자바 차가 요래라 몰람 삼지 마자바 차도 요래.
So then after you have closed the door, then you begin to walk. And so when you're walking, you think that may all beings walk the way all the Tathagatas have walked, the unsurpassed Tathagatas have walked. So how they have walked is how they have practiced. So we practice beginning with the practice of shamatha. And so with mindfulness, we walk. And if our practice of calm abiding of shamatha is sealed with bodhichitta, then we are walking the path of the Tathagatas for the benefit of limitless sentient beings. And then when you walk, pray that may all those sentient beings walk in the same way. May they cultivate shamatha sealed with bodhichitta. And if you think in this way again, your aspiration prayer will become of inconceivable benefit.
Tene nyumong ngin tu chuba ye xiangji zheman dorjerjes. Ta sanju lundro ne jimba tang xiangwa da jiwa sin tu so ma ndorgorwa. Xiangji jimba tang zoba ma ndordu. Ten namjun ko tongda ke sanomi ne tanda yongro ta jingxi tin o. Ta nga gju ke nyumong ba. Tene ne natsa. Ta nyumong la tin ne natsa yonggo yorwa. 내 담지 다 만들고요. 신삼상하는 저 왕휴된다라고 미람지 요와. 돌생 검대는 요와는서. 대대 찍바래 만들고요. 시다. 다 만들어야 돼. 나 대위치도 많이 봐. 타입 심진 담지 그 돈은 돌고요. 대를 타입 심진 담지 그 주게 내 나차 뉴몽 발라서 바탄제 다효. 사는 은내 삼노데 제 삭삼 넘버 다보톤 삼노 땅타바이나 소소를 띵띵게 제 나차도 저 자수 삼바 촌항지 와라 대천 먹어 봐 차도 요래 된도 양진 돌버 값은 대답이지 매람 몰람 되고 요래스.
So then after you've walked around for some time, it's time to go to bathroom. In the bathroom you pee and you poop. So normally we don't really think about like our pee and our poop when we do it. So here, when you can also practice with even that, cultivating mindfulness and thinking that as I kind of release like my pee and poop, may that release all my afflictive emotions and all my disease, because actually all disease, all illness is caused by the afflictive emotions. So we are kind of letting go, releasing of all of these afflictions. And actually that kind of visualization also occurs in an empowerment, for example, when we visualize Vajrasattva, and we recite Vajrasattva. And so as you release, don't think it's just for my own sake, but I am releasing for the sake of all sentient beings. And so through this release, may all their disease and their afflictive emotions become purified. So if you're able to think in this way with such a good motivation, pure motivation, then there's actually no doubt that it will also be beneficial, also contribute to the healing of your own illnesses.
Tene mazang trim hengso ndor tsutam charba drasarte tsetang jawa takpaye chayap simjin danger jeso ta chuchi di chuchi dongba chuchi ba inare zubo chuchi ba inare ta gari tingo yoresina ta ngarang zo che tamsai nyamcha tang tsutam charba laso bala din che ta tene heng madaba laso bala jewa lenyan da tang tene koryo lasoba madeba donghawa lasoba la jiwa lenyan du so tamje tanga ge chusen da songsi tenin de tanyamda la ta so la churyo bande jamba de zewa lasoba ge wu de demba tanda chi chane tenin so ge gangba hyab dang tenin ta di ge lagbun ter tamje la ya da jamba janjuk sem de dang jezo dikis ta sinlab de nuba de ge so ge gang tuksa riksa 탐제 라야다 잔조그 셈다 딤바 조르효 세네 몰람데 바 인도 데이터베 조르송 삼네 데네 냠들라 드라고 요리스 취지오 취지버갑스.
So then next we wash our hands, or also we wash our bodies, take a shower and so on. So at that time how we should think is that now may by washing my feet and hand, may all impurities, all stains and impurities from that have occurred due to transgressions, breaches of discipline, may all of these be purified. And may my feet and hands be endowed with loving activity. So when we wash ourselves, and then you should think that all broken vows, any breaches in discipline become purified. That is, for example, when they were directed like towards some like that would lead to birth in lower states or in kind of unfortunate surroundings. So all of these stains, they have become completely purified. So thinking this way, through me washing, they all have become purified. And now I am endowed with a radiance of love and compassion. My palms, the palms of my hands and the feet of my legs all have become imbued with bodhichitta, with blessings and with power. And therefore, whoever I meet and whatever I touch, may it cause bodhichitta to arise within whatever I touch or whoever I touch and whoever I meet. So in this way, think that like you make your aspiration in this prayer. You pray that by me washing, everything has become purified, and now I'm endowed with this radiance of love.
Tenida number tarpu gon gor nampal devar hikba yin kunchin trum jyam dang yihin na wan chawra shoso. Dan den ngarang zu namju ka zhe. Da ka zhe zin so zhe wa ri. Tene dang so heng sa si da ngima jagala ina sanji yod bagap so da so heng zin heng ji yor des sa ne de ge den kanang ge zma la so ngim ba chama da so den ge da 제조로 점마당 되는 정인 파탄 다로 다랑랑 소 줘야 라고 차도 요래 주딩 기찬 외고는 대야 요래 등상자가 요미 미히데 데 간다르 디캅스 가레고 당랑 따라 간다르 소 줘고 요라 소 줘버 값수 되는 넘버 타바 고솜시 뽕바니 치마미 바 되는 전 치마미 바 Rev Mumba mi ba se da de che ya ta wan ro nyam ni to ne ya che rim ji parent du 다 대화를 희바스 산제 그바 산제 게 다 데이터베지 냠리 드니 ndoda nga la suba ke tamsek tamje tini number tabala tine tini kulu tamje ne triyam tana bogo yoresi te chutam sama jin te sola tini jama himbu boya yoresi ngima ne lapru yorede tan de tawo tike tini daaz trechang ma yamba ten ishi ke ran yin ba teke tini sama la te tawo ta trechang bo ta teke ishi ke nawa ten chawar hyo se dāni sōsō ke dētā bā dōyā dē yīngi chī dō yīmbā, yīngi dētā bā dēni dā sūchāng kā zhamā lā sō bā dā yīshī kā nāwā dā lā lōng sū chū bā rā hyō sāmbā tōni, dēn sō chō gō yō rēs.
Then the next verse is about brushing our teeth. So it says here, and so here now in the past in old India, when the Buddha was alive, at that time the people didn't brush their teeth like we do it now, but what they did is they chewed on some what they called like a tooth wood, like a wood for teeth, basically. That's some kind of a piece of wood that they chewed on, and that would clean their mouth, and there would be no unpleasant smell. So actually, it's also probably much better for one's health to clean one's teeth that way. And so, anyways, nowadays we are brushing our teeth, and so the verse says. So just as the Buddhas have
Oh yeah.
So just as the Buddhas of the past have cleansed the kind of the negative odors, kind of the odor of immorality into morality through the three gates. Actually, it only says the gates of liberation. Through the gates of complete liberation, and thereby have developed the dawning of primordial wisdom in their minds. In a similar way, I will cleanse my mouth and cleanse my teeth with this tooth wood, so that this wisdom of morality or discipline will arise. So these three gates of liberation is the gate of emptiness, then the gate which is the cause, or the gate of being free from concepts or without characteristics, which is the cause, and then the gate of the result, which is the
number tabo go na gor.
Somebody. The third one. Mare.
Oh, David Mumbami.
And the result is a kind of like invisibility, nothing actually manifest. And so those Buddhas have perfected these three gates of liberation. And so therefore having perfected basically in essence the practice of the sutras and the tantras, because they have mastered that, their samaya, their vows are completely pure. And it is said that because it is what immaculate ethical discipline leads to a pleasant body odor. So they smell very good. But it's not just some kind of smell. It has the nature of wisdom. So this basically is a prayer that, just as the Buddhas have developed this odor of wisdom, which comes from impeccable discipline and vows, may all sentient beings develop such wisdom. And I'm clarifying, I'm purifying all these stains by washing my mouth and brushing my teeth.
Tani taadu simji nyambarane nage nyumong tamje tang jarhin tamje songbarayang dorji nyingbu lutop hyoson. Tang aran zo min sagarwa na yung bakapso min sa mana bakapso yang na chang ngongo jidu min saga yorwa. Tan di kapso kare tingo yoresina. Tani simji tamje la ta nawa tang geba la soba ke dunga yoresi. Tani deso ke nawa tang geba la soba la tani chewa ke ke chezo lo jin si yung gu yudu kandar nawa geba chewa la soba tamje tani nasa tamje da jarne tani dorji ningbu lutop hyo si meshik dorji go teta ba kandar che che renwa ne mi ba si ba dun jikba re tani teta ba che yung hyo si ngarang ke min su ba ndala tene tani ngarang ke min de deso yung yak chi tu sa yu si ne mi ba da che ringwa la so ba yung yak chi tu sa yu sam te mo la te yin da gore.
And so then the next verse is about eating medicine. So sometimes we eat medicine when we are sick, but even when we are not sick, we take preventive supplements and medicines. So here, then when we take medicine, when we eat medicine, then we should think that by all sentient beings experience the suffering of sickness and illness due to their afflicted minds, and suffering and illness, or aging and illness, becomes a condition for their death. So by me eating this medicine, may all sentient beings be freed from their illness, and having been freed from their illness, may they attain the indestructible essence Vajra body. And thereby may they achieve a state of longevity and freedom from illness. So when you're eating medicine, you should think that I'm eating for this purpose.
Tani kune rabda tangwa tang ducha la so dorpangde simjin zup sanji yin tawe mongong kurjur jes. Andela namjeng asande yore chakcha ande sin chona na tzang sen tani muma jawo la so ba tang tani sanje ta chanchu sen ba so phe wendu myon la cha thalan ro ya lang myong chi de tin sa kala tan de ya yore zama chi ya chi de tang dikaps tang ta ting san te ta mixa mi na ya chadar ke jadu lamga la ke jaba inari khangpa nang na ke jaba inari ta sam no kare tong gore ta simjin tamji la tene nyomong ba ta hedang tang control la su ba ga chado la su ba ga dor yori si dor se ta ma chang ba dor yori tan da tamji nge ke ja ne pas chen ro yo si tan da tamji ke ja ne chen ro du tan da tamji tene sanji ge ko na yin ta we mong wan ba se ka che te ba na yi de mong ba thong ya me ba ge tene yi do wong ba ge sanji la tan sim sang so ni pe je je ju zo ji de so sanji ge ko yong din na yo ro ba an da so tamji tene simjin tamji lan te ta chung bar nyam bar dim bar hyo si tene ta na mo lan de go yo re.
So then the next verse is about how to think when you're cleaning up or when you're sweeping the floor and so on. And so here the verse that says that when I'm sweeping the floor or sprinkling like saffron water, which is also an old tradition, is some sprinkling of like saffron water or kind of scented water, that would be done when a special guest is arriving, like a king or the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Then it was said that the reason why they kind of sprinkled this water onto the ground is because when those special beings would walk on that ground, no dust should arise. So that's why they kind of dampened the ground by sprinkling it. And even if it is not like that nowadays, we clean or sweep the floor, we clean and so on. So at that time, whenever we are engaging in these kind of cleaning activities, we should think that by sweeping a floor or by cleaning, may the afflictive emotions in the minds of all beings, such as desire, and also jealousy and hatred and so forth, may all of the afflictive emotions be completely abandoned or purified. May they become free from this dust, the dust motes, the stains of their afflictive emotions by my sweeping the floor or cleaning up, and then having cleared away all of these stains, then may all sentient beings assume the form of a perfectly complete Buddha with, for example, the 32 major and the 80 minor marks.
Tene jitsog jikdi mantong tang, la tang mela so nam ji. Chawu ta de simjin gun zo san chu din yin chu hyos. Ang zo nam jun chu din la cha tang korwa si de. Chu din la korwa si jun de muma ja sanji gyo de bakap je cha an cha ya ke de ke dongda jikpa cha de yore. Korwa si ba da cha ni dongda jikpa song zan de la rawo no song do. Den dun chu din la cha ji bakap su ina re chu din den la korwa ji bakap su 다 가래 딩고 요르스는 심진 탐지 다 산지 되는 데니 다 잠벨링네 제라 도제 라서 바다 라다 라마인 탐제다 코란조 제당 톱 요리 나자 요리 텔라수바게 제 렐하포게 제 그яб라서바 용고 요 말이데 다 산지 지인도 라왕미 바게 되니 그яб 단 주바시게 요레스 데 인도 데니 심진 탐제 라양 데니 산지 인도 데니 yan chuba semji tambo sanjin tamje ge dene dedab sanje ge ta ngak daran chutin la cha da kupa signa na yi sanje la dedab yongsho dele tin koran zo je sanje na yi dene yin la da lama yin la so ba mala so ba tamji ge gyap ji sa dedab ji don jor sho sam dene ta kulhong ti to ne mola ja go yore.
And so the next verse is about prostrating to and also circumambulating stupas. And so when we do that, then there's also a prayer that we can make. And so also, this comes because it's a sutra from the time of the Buddha. And so at that time, it was actually regarded to be the same to either prostrate to a stupa or to circumambulate it. So now while we are doing such activities, and we should think that, so as I'm circumambulating or I am prostrating, and so by bowing down my crown, so just as I am prostrating to bowing down my crown to this stupa, for example, and thereby become worthy of respect by gods and by humans, may all sentient beings become just like that. For example, like respected by gods and by humans, gods, which are of a kind of in a higher state of existence and possess greater abilities, greater powers, and for this reason, because they are much more powerful, they also are more prideful. So it's not so easy actually for a god to show respect for a human. And so actually, if one practices in this way, it is said that even the gods just naturally will pay respect if one practices in this way. And so just like I am practicing in this way and thereby become praiseworthy for gods and also humans, in a similar way, may all sentient beings become like that.
Oh yeah, ta pache suru here wa. Chapsan ta. Teni da tere tarong da la khe yo pare teni suru mantuni hya yin. Teni dan dik do te janchu sing nyamli ngarang su ni tapa la che jabji le som segro ta tanda tan rewa yu depa mulam ta chadri yu jabji ta jawaji le ka le ta so chamar che juk jawa yorwa tele sipa chirwa tin tega le zowa chigwa zowa jabji le the so tan rewa yu depa andra ha sa ya bundo tin de maung bala che ma sikje na wala journey don tam na pe ya bo teni ra rena de chi ma yang himbo la dem ne teni ma jing don ne tena ve tena pe ya bo sa re ten tele lakwa chi na ngune wen tara sanje ke nam thar chabu do ti na yi wen ndala che nam thar do chap tung yu ba tena ji zong ne tena che na chap tung che na lo ni na yi sanje ke nam thar de ngune de sam je ma cha ba na da ya bo yo sa re sang ko yus teni mari korang na cham ne ti ngan ta ngan ni he no yo de na yi je de na la ba na yi chap ra de na yi chap ne teni je tanda wen de ne chap tu wen ne tra vi ta na ngune ta sen la pak cha ting sa bo yo ta ba dang pak cha ting sa bo yo ban de ke ka re yong go ru sina jin hi de tim bo cha ne de yong go yo re jin hi tim bo cha de teni ngarang so ping ke yo re ta tanda je yong ta ba je kar chim bo cha de ya tin din na ni chap sang je ma ne na ya teni maung ba la ngune wen din na ni kun sam lo yung kin tanda la ta ba je ina yang din na ge kha he je koran so la du ta re na na nyam lin chi jo re ta sim ba ni som tanda te ne du ta re na na nyam lin chi ji ne teni te man thar ma sing ge tanda ji to ba ina cham ba la ma re cham ba tam je la da tin na te le chi ma bon do le chi ma bon cha ma ma ji ge lam sa nyam lin to go ma wa ni ma cheng na pe na so chya na wa da ya la ya da wa da de chin chi ni sa la koran so nyam lin ji ji na ten cham tu na cha lap cha de ya tik tin hi de ma tu tin de ek pin do chim ba sa re sam song.
So we continue the rest of that sutra in the afternoon. And so that it would be really good to practice this each and every day as it really becomes a practice of bodhichitta. And so in whatever we do, So whether we are making an effort in anything, we're doing anything, all of our activities. If we practice in this way, there certainly will be a result. And also, it would be good if this particular sutra in here, in the future, if that could be translated also in verse form. Even better if it can be chanted to a melody. And in addition to that, it would be also great to take this sutra and actually make something like a play, like a theater play, or like a little a TV show, a role play or something, where basically a film is made where this is demonstrated, where each of these verses is demonstrated by someone. And so something like that would be also great, because that will really help us to place a profound imprint of that in our mind stream, and that will then help us to always be mindful of those activities. So it would be very good if we would be able to do that, and also it would be very beneficial for something to practice for retreatants, people who go into retreat. And even if we can't practice each of those verses all together at the same time right away, but one could pick out 1 or 2 or so of these verses each and every day or week, and just focus on like one aspect of this, like how every day when I'm getting up, I will now do this, and then another time you add one more thing, and so on. So then also if we practice that in a retreat, then after we finish with the retreat, we will be able to, because of this habitual tendency that we have created, we will be able to sustain mindfulness of such aspirations. Page 11, dedication prayers. Just one, Niga, the first one. By this merit may I attain omniscience. Having defeated the enemies, my wrongdoings, may I liberate all beings who are tossed in the ocean of samsara by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. And then there's page number 21 for the prayer for the sick people. Page 21 in the blue prayer book.
May every being aligned with the disease be freed at once from every malady. May all sickness that afflicts the living be instantly and permanently healed. Thank you very much.